What we kind of need now is maybe a sort of some form of sort of pad or electric keys or something like that. So I'm going to start maybe, let's try the Korg. This keyboard, I bought this when Mark and I started working on our sci-fi disco project. We wanted something that was going to give us really, really good 80s sounds. And obviously you can get that from all the hardware, but this was so instant. I mean, it's got a vocoder with a gooseneck mic and everything, which I took off because it looks ridiculous, but it sounds brilliant. But the actual presets and stuff in here are a really good starting point. So I'm just going to go in for like a kind of some vintage poly sounds. Just see if we can boost that up a little bit. And again, it's very kind of instant sounding. Great filters. Good old stuck MIDI note there. This is what happens, unfortunately, when you use older stuff. It does tend to stick MIDI-wise. So we'll just reset that. It is a little bit prone to stuck notes, that one actually. So Korg, if you're paying attention, sort it out, please. See? What did I tell you? I'm going to change the quantize on this. I know I've been doing it to Guru swing, but obviously you can see this this part. We've only got just a note starting on the start of the bar, and a note starting on an 8th beat there. So if I quantize that to 8th beats, it's still going to stick with the groove, but it just means that it's going to lock them. It's going to lock them right onto the center of onto the start of the bar. Another great little function which I've got set up on a shortcut key. It used to be Shift Tab on the old version of Logic, on Logic 7. On here it doesn't have one, so you have to set it up, but I've got it set up on Shift and the button above Tab because I just keep accidentally hitting Tab anyway. And that is, you'll see it under here, it's Note Force Legato. And what this basically does is if you hit that button, whatever your key command is, it forces all the notes that you've laid down to just run to the end or to the start of the next series of notes. The great thing about that is obviously if you want to do something like this where it's a really, really long kind of sustained sound and you want it to go right up to the point, right up to the wire until it changes chord, it's just a simple, you know, I mean, even if they're kind of like way back sort of here, you just Shift Tab and it pushes them all to the end and pushes them all to the end of the bar. Just going to bring the check the, let's just pull the resonance down a little bit, 'cause it's a little bit whiny, that is for me. This synth also is the synth I used for the bass drone on Man with the Red Face, which again actually is just a preset which I will show you, because I'm pretty sure there'll be a few people out there that would quite like to see that one. If I remember rightly, it was this. And then I just rolled all the delay off the end of it and dropped it into the. Let's just reset that. There we go. I can't quite remember what the notes were, but that's it. And then obviously just to excite it all up, you can. It's the cut off it is. I'm not sure how much of it you'll actually get on the DVD at home, but this, I mean, for a synth that cost me no more than about £400, the actual amount of air that this shifts on the low notes is I mean, we can all feel that. It's really, and it sounds so kind of so analog as well. I mean, you know, I know that's kind of the idea of it, but sometimes you know you get these things that are kind of like analog modelled, and you listen to them and they sound good. You know, the filter squeal and the cutoff is really nice, but it doesn't really sound like analog. But this one does. It's got some really other really great sounds on it as well, but I mean, I'm going off topic. So we'll get back to the chords. Now what I'm going to do is this is kind of like a really old school way of doing things, but it's really useful. Whenever I've got something that requires MIDI automation rather than Logic's you know, standard automation that you can do here, I always record it on a separate track, because then you don't, you know, you can put the automation in, but you don't actually, if you need to change it for any reason, you haven't got to alter the notes, you haven't got to alter anything within the part. You can leave this part exactly as it is, open up another part that is kind of like a second, you know, a second version of that. If I just go to the software instrument, I just look up the Korg R3, which is there, and now I've got the same channel again, and then all I'll do is I'll record my automation data on here, and that will you know, that'll prevent me from sort of accidentally losing anything, and also means I can copy the automation data across and layer it under individual parts. It's a really simple thing, you know, it's nothing sort of like particularly clever or anything to write home about, but sometimes it's these kind of things that are the most important things, I think, like some of the kind of easiest things to do that in order to make your life a hell of a lot easier. All of the hardware in here is wired with both MIDI ins and MIDI outs, so it means that I can record the control data from all the knobs on all the bits and bobs sort of as I go. I mean, I tend to always edit it again afterwards, just because you know, you can get it a lot sort of tighter than when you're just doing it manually. But this always gives you a great sort of starting point. So. We'll start about there. And now you should be able to see when I open this up, there's our MIDI control data. So I'm just going to make that really, really tight now by, I always look for, you know, whatever the sort of lowest point is, which appears to be this section where it's 89 here, and the highest point, and then I kind of like map in between those. So it's just, I know I kind of want that to restart at the start of the bar, so, because that's when this one starts. So I'm going to pull that up to 105 there, and then again take that right the way down to 88, roughly about there, and then delete that back up to 99. So that obviously goes back to where it left off. I think when you're using parts like kind of pads and stuff like that, you should always try and get just a little bit of movement into them. Even if it's just a tiny bit of filter movement, it means that the sound kind of evolves rather than is just, you know, just kind of that one kind of droney sort of, you know, sound. You get a kind of evolving sort of pad, and you know, it hasn't got to necessarily, you know, kind of sweep loads like the sort of things that you get on presets, but you know, just a little bit of movement just means the sound is a little bit kind of more lively. One thing I do suffer from with this setup is I do get a little bit of latency with the offboard gear. For those of you who obviously have, you know, who have dealt with that sort of thing, obviously you know what latency is and whatever. For those of you who don't, it's kind of like the lag between the signal being sent from the MIDI output and sort of being picked up on the hardware and to the notes actually playing. So what I kind of get is they tend to play just a little bit after all the others, and it can make them sound kind of out of time. One of the easiest ways to get around this on Logic, and Ableton's got a similar thing as well, is just in the top corner here you've got a in your section where you keep all your quantize and whatever, you've got a delay switch, and if you just switch, if you just get the parts that you want to delay, with this keyboard it doesn't tend to have that much latency, and I tend to find that if I knock it back 192nd note, which is that one there, it kind of fixes it. So it's kind of tight on the beat. I'm going to subdue that quite far down in the mix. And then what I want to do is, I want to kind of make the pad a little bit sort of airy and, you know, sort of a little bit kind of, one of the things I loved about the old digital workstations, things like the Korgs and stuff, is all the sounds sounded like they got so much like air on them. You know, you'd hit the notes and everything seemed to have this kind of sort of effect whenever you hit the pads, and I really miss that with all these kind of analog models sort of things. They tend to lose some of that beauty that the digital sounds have. It's one of the great things Native Instruments have managed to capture with the FM8, is they've kind of crossed analog sort of flexibility and sounds with that kind of really crisp digital sound. Brilliant sounding synth. One of your top scorers, I believe, in the gear tests. I'm going to start putting a little bit of air onto this sound now, so I'm going to go into a few of the other sort of plugins that I'm really into. One of the best ones I've found for adding air to things is definitely the UAD Neve 107.3. A great thing about these is they give you the two versions of them as well, like the light version and the other version, so you can put the light versions on the channel strips and it doesn't sort of it doesn't start sort of chockering up the CPU of the card. And again, preset wise, there's a few really good ones on here, and one of the ones that I like here is just this one. It's just called High End Sweetener. It's normally a master preset, something that you stick on the end, but I kind of tend to use it as just a thing, just to sweeten the sound up a little bit, just to really put that sort of top end sizzle back on. Kind of like that. The UAD stuff's fantastic anyway. I mean, there's some great plugins and stuff. Dreamverb as well. If you want to get a really kind of really lush sort of reverb on the go, this thing's fantastic. It's a little bit harsh when it kicks in because it tends to be everything tends to be set very wet, but if you just get the mix kind of set right, and it gives you a really good sound, really good spread. And then I'm just going to throw an EQ on the top of that as well. And just move that behind the Neve. I'm going to throw an EQ onto it and just roll off some of the bottom end. You also might have noticed from watching me for a while that I have a really bad habit of not saving things. And I've lost many tracks like this because I'm a div. So well, I'm just going to save this to the desktop now.